Hey, y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
And we are heading into the third week of June already?
Yeah, I just quit even looking anymore.
Well, you're tired.
Well, it's like it's slipping away from me. It's like the more you concentrate on time, the faster it goes.
It keeps on slipping into the future, Dylan.
It's just like that song.
Exactly. So how are
Wow.
you doing today? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am hanging in there, just alive.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
gosh, the energy is really good today.
It's amazing. Dylan. Well, I'm just feeding off of you. So when you sit there like a lump of flesh, it's not like I have a lot to work with here.
Me and Heather have been experimenting. We try to see if you can indeed eat too many gummies. As of yet, the answer is no. Okay? But there are consequences for your actions.
Okay, not everybody knows what that means, Dylan, that listens. They probably think you're trying to eat those little Mott's fruit snacks or something.
Well, I will eat the Mott's as
Why
well.
must you talk about this all the time? Is this a weed podcast?
No.
Then why do you even bring it up? It's
No,
really
it's-
no one's business. So thank you for putting my business out there, Dylan. Would you like to tell them about my uterus as well?
My butthole's been itching lately. We can talk about that.
You know what? You are an itchy butthole. All right? You're the most aggravating, obnoxious butthole of all time.
Oh my gosh. I'm a
And
flaky
to be honest,
butthole.
I'm ready for you to come out of retirement.
Yeah.
The last week, we've spent too much time together, and I'm not sure this is going to work for me.
I'm not sure.
I feel like I need you back on swing shifts to make this
no.
to make this marriage work.
I refuse. You go
Well-
work the damn swing shifts. I'm not doing it.
Well, then I may.
I'm just going to walk around the house naked
God, please don't. That's the last thing I need.
and cook bacon. So, Heather, how are you doing?
Well, I'm feeling a little repulsed right now by you, but otherwise, I've had a little too much time with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't is this some kind of hint you're
Your
trying
motivation is, I don't even know. Like, there aren't words to describe the motivation level that you have every day.
I don't have any motivation right now.
Yeah. How is that different from every other fucking day, bro?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying.
It just gets worse now that you're retired.
Well, yeah, I should have retired a long time ago, honestly. And anyone out there wondering if they can do it, do it. Just do it. Just quit quit, fired, laid off, whatever, and just say you're retired. Identify as a retiree. Okay? And who can tell me I'm not? They'd be like, well, you're not old enough. I'd be like, says who?
Well, he just stands behind me while I pay for everything.
Yes.
Like, puts his hands on my waist, sniffs me like he's Joe Biden on the neck. Like, yeah, girl, thanks for getting me that Whopper.
Have to get my hand towel out because I sweat profusely.
And I'm like, will you just get away from me?
because our Nissan Altima doesn't have any air conditioner.
Yeah, bro. So when you're driving your girl's car, don't lean the seat back. Keep that seat up so you can see who's hiring.
So you can catch some air.
So you can see who's hiring, Dylan. Okay, to start off the show today, we're going to be recapping some of this week's true crime news. I have something just for you, Dylan. It's a little sticky.
Okay.
We know how you love sticky things.
I keep wet wipes all the time.
You constantly talk about things being sticky on the show. For whatever reason, that's where your mind goes. I got some sticky for you.
Okay, well, I'm getting stickier as I'm sitting here.
A drug syndicate that tried to smuggle tons of methamphetamine from Canada to Australia and New Zealand by hiding it in shipments of maple syrup and canola oil has had its ruse busted, authorities have said today.
Oh my gosh.
Authorities from the three nations say they worked together for more than 5 months to unravel the elaborate scheme that was worth billions of dollars. Authorities in New Zealand and Australia say they have made a dozen arrests and expect more to come, while Canadian authorities said they are still investigating the case and aren't yet providing all of the details. Australian police said they intercepted 4 separate hauls of meth weighing more than 6 tons and filed charges against 6 men.
Wow, that indeed does sound like a sticky situation. Yeah.
They said in January that Canadian authorities alerted them that 2,900 liters, which is the equivalent of 766 gallons of liquid meth, had been hidden in 180 bottles of canola oil bound for Australia.
So, wow. So that I wonder how long they've been doing this for one thing.
Well, Canadian authorities were able to swap out the meth for a harmless substance and allowed the shipment to continue. Australian police said that two men then moved what they believed were the drugs to storage locations around the city of Melbourne. Two more shipments came in May and June, and the syndicate also was linked to a December shipment. In New Zealand, police said the syndicate tried to hide more than 3/4 of a ton of meth in a shipment of maple syrup, the largest such shipment that has been intercepted at New Zealand's border.
Wow. So they're moving a lot of meth. These are dangerous people. You don't want to get tied up with them because you could end up dead. And just imagine you're expecting this incredible Canadian maple syrup, and instead it's a bottle of liquid meth.
I would rather have the syrup.
That's
Be
what I
honest.
mean,
I
yeah.
want that on my waffle.
I want it on my waffle too.
New Zealand police said they have arrested and charged 5 men at a rural property near the town of Helensville, which is north of Auckland, who had taken the bulk of the shipment. A sixth person that police say took the remainder of the shipment is also facing charges. New Zealand Police Commissioner Andrew Coster said, quote, "The international drug trade and organized crime groups are creating havoc and harm in communities around the globe."
It's true.
It is true.
Well, I mean, this level right here is I mean, this isn't, somebody selling a quarter bag of weed or something. This is a big deal. It causes a lot of death and destruction in communities. And this is a type of when I think of them stopping drugs, this is exactly what I'm thinking about.
Well, I mean, I think this is awesome, and it shows an example of how you can get these global law enforcement agencies to work together and have an operation and really crack down on some of the big international drug trades.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, especially when it comes to meth, it's just such a terrible substance.
It's a life, it like just destroys lives, man.
It really
Like
just
nothing good comes from meth.
No, it's not like any heroin or cocaine's good for you. That's not true. But it's just, it seems that the cheapness and the ease, it's the same old song and dance. It's just with whatever drug of the moment is, going through this. But there's plenty of it, super cheap, very, very potent and strong. It always keeps changing.
Very addictive.
Very addictive.
The physical toll it takes on your appearance, on your health, and then it just fucks up your head. I mean, even folks I know who've been on the meths and get clean, it's like they're never quite right. I don't know.
No.
It like almost makes you have some sort of psychotic break. I mean, I'm no doctor, obviously, but it just seems like people don't really bounce back from that.
It seems like they don't come all the way back no matter how hard they try. And that's even scarier for a community, right?
Very, very. I mean, we've had a lot of rural areas, we've had a lot of opioid problems and methamphetamine issues over the years. And just to see how it really does destroy the lives of so many and families, the community as a whole.
Yeah, and I saw this. I was watching, I don't know why, but I'll watch these series about either the drug trade or prisons. I don't know why. Find it interesting.
Well,
But
it is interesting.
they talk about a stat they threw out there was about 80% of the people hooked on heroin started addicted to opiates. So they started off with pills basically,
Right.
and then end up on the heroin, which, I mean, that's always bugged me because we obviously can control the pills. Well, now of course you got a lot of counterfeits and everything coming out of Mexico, and a lot of that is mixed with whatever. It's not even the pill you think it is, and it's just the sophistication with these cartels. I think oftentimes people think it's, two guys in some little shack in the middle of nowhere. That is part of the program. There are farmers, workers at the low end there. But on the other end of it, the sophistication of the cartels is they're either as or more sophisticated than the government's trying to fight them with weapons, with
Oh
transportation,
no, I've watched
logistics.
one of those shows. I think it's called Trafficked with, I can't think of the lady's name, but it's like I think a Nat Geo show, and she was actually in Mexico and interviewing cartel members, and they were in almost like a manufacturing facility,
yeah.
and they were making fake fentanyl.
What the
in this
fuck?
facility, and it looked like chemists and lab techs, and looked very modern facility.
Yeah, it's not some
And then
hidden.
she followed from the manufacturing of this fentanyl to the American woman who was coming in to Mexico to pick it up and transport it back into the United States, and just following the entire operation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just wild that this happens every day, and that's how we're getting so much of this fentanyl just pouring into our communities.
It's just pouring
It's
across
very
the
scary.
border. What when they do get a seizure, for every one they get, 50 get through. So I mean, it's really just a game of whack a mole that's never ever going to provide. It's not going to produce the end result that you want. It's not going to stop. It's not going to slow down. For every cartel leader you get, 10 more replace them. I mean, it's just. We've been doing this war on drugs for years and years, decades.
Well, if you cut the head off the snake, 8 more appear.
Well, yeah, it's a hydra. It's not even a snake.
I mean, it's like
yeah.
we don't even knock a dent in this
Yeah,
shit most of the time.
You like that?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, so I'm so smart
I like your
sometimes.
reference.
I'm really smart sometimes. You cut off one head and 2 heads
Well,
to
it just,
grow.
I mean, if you watch something as basic as The Wire, the HBO show where you've got corner boys getting arrested, they get them off the streets, round them up, and the next day you got 8 more young men out there slinging drugs. I mean, it's a never-ending cycle.
No,
And I really just think that we're never going to make headway with the war on drugs.
no.
It's just money wasted. So I don't know what the solution is, but it's not what we've been doing.
I saw this odd thing since we're just kind of. This was a stat about.
What are we doing right now? Just free balling?
Yeah,
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, we're much like Tom Petty at the moment. We're free balling. Yeah, I know, right? So this stat was about gun.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to laugh
That
at
was-
your dad joke?
Yeah.
Awesome. Ha ha.
America and gun violence. There's like 193 incorporated countries, and America's like number 3 with the gun violence. It's bad here, but if you remove all the major cities, metropolitan areas that actually have the strictest gun laws, but you remove all their stats out of it, we jump back to like 179th, like basically to the other end of the list. So what does that tell you? What does that make you think when you hear a stat like that?
So you're saying that the concentrated amount of gun violence is in major cities and not in the rural areas?
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah, by far.
Okay.
By far.
But yet,
They have the strictest gun laws in these areas.
when you are on the internets, the message that people want to drive home is it's like these crazy rednecks with their guns are the ones out doing the violence. Like, oh, it's just all these crazy gun owning rednecks.
Right.
So that's not the truth then.
Well, no, I don't think statistics would back that up.
Well,
if
in
that's
the
what someone
rural area,
thinks.
well, no, but that seems to be the message people have is that it's just like you got all these redneck gun nuts out like jerking off on their, ammo mag or whatever.
Right. Or that those type of people are the ones driving the gun violence in this country, when obviously the stats would not support that. It seems that
Well, I mean,
almost
you've-
all the gun.
you've got a more dense population in those cities. You've got to look at the economic. I think the socioeconomic disparity in these cities, because obviously, if you're in a place like New York, you've got the high end of the richest people, but you probably also have people living in the most poverty
Right.
in those major areas.
Yeah,
the
if you're
cost
making-
of housing.
If you're making 60 grand in Manhattan, you're living on the poverty line.
Oh yeah,
You're barely making it.
which is wild.
It is wild, and that's just part of that.
Well, I guess what's wild to me is that people who choose to live in these places where they can barely afford a 300 square foot studio apartment, and you're living in this tiny cramped space. Every day you're confronted with fecal matter and piss on the streets.
crazy homeless people.
Well, just-
violent.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's the draw of living there?
I guess everybody's different.
I mean, I don't know. When I was younger, maybe that would have been appealing, but I have absolutely no desire whatsoever to live in a place like New York City at this point in my life.
New York City.
Yeah, I hate people, so I don't want to live where there's a lot of people. I'll be honest with you.
All right, moving on with the news. Heather hates people.
Well, that's
This
not really news. I think everybody knows.
It's not breaking news.
It's just because they act fucking stupid everywhere you go. Like, quit acting dumb and I won't hate you.
Quit acting dumb and I won't hate you. That should be on a t-shirt.
Well, yeah, when I'm like at a grocery store and some asshole is blocking the fucking aisle having a conversation with their buddy they haven't seen in 40 years and like won't let anybody pass by. Yeah, that's an asshole move and that makes me not like you. Pennsylvania State Police investigators suspected a missing Summit Township man met with foul play when bone fragments and soft tissue were found in a makeshift fire pit behind the garage of his Crestview Drive home in April. Those suspicions were realized through photographs and videos found on an iCloud account of a woman initially charged with stealing the victim's car. The photos and videos show 66-year-old Michael Maisner with gunshot wounds to the back of his head and his body lying in a pool of blood on the floor inside his residence, according to investigators. Also found in an examination of a Google account associated with the homicide suspect Marissa Rodriguez were searches on how to shoot someone, how long it takes to burn a body, and cutting a dead body with a chainsaw, troopers wrote in the affidavit of probable cause filed with Rodriguez's criminal complaint. Here's someone being really stupid.
Hold on one second. I've got to look this up. How to cut a body up with a chainsaw.
State police have charged Rodriguez, who's 35 years old, with offenses including first-degree murder, aggravated assault, and abuse of a corpse in the death of Maisner, who was reported missing by family members before the human remains were found in a burn pit on his property. They think Maisner was killed sometime between March 28th and April 13th.
Hold on a second. I need to take some video. Make sure that goes to my iCloud account of the victim.
Rodriguez has been in the Erie County Prison without bond since April 15th when she was arraigned on felony counts of theft and receiving stolen property and a misdemeanor count of unauthorized use of a motor vehicle that state police filed after she was caught driving his missing Cadillac on April 14th.
Well, it sounds to me like she's definitely has something to do with this. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're a murderer.
Well, the investigation into Maisner's whereabouts that would ultimately lead to this homicide investigation was launched on April 12th when troopers were sent to his Crestview Drive home in an attempt to locate him because his family hadn't seen or heard from him in more than 2 weeks. According to information contained in search warrants served in the investigation, troopers observed some nonsensical graffiti written on the walls of his residence, but nobody answered when they knocked on the door and they didn't find anybody inside the home. Then on the 13th, so the next day, state police were called back to the residence to investigate a report of a woman in the attic, and that is when they encountered Rodriguez, who said she was just there to take care of the cats and that she had not seen Maisner in weeks. The Cadillac was at the residence when troopers arrived, but when they returned to the residence later in the day to complete a missing persons report with members of Maisner's family, the car was gone.
This creepy ass girl. What's she doing in the damn attic?
So while at the residence during that second visit, that's when troopers noticed a portion of carpeting missing from the home, and they located a burn pit on the property that was still warm and contained fibers that appeared to be the same as the missing carpet. Troopers also found, Dylan, bleach and bleach wipes in the house, a red mark on the bathroom wall that they suspected to be blood. So troopers returned to the resident a third time on April 13th, armed with a search warrant. According to information in the affidavit with Rodriguez's criminal complaint, troopers determined a large section of carpet and padding had been removed from the front entry and that the ceiling had been recently cleaned. Suspected human tissue was found in a floor vent, and blood splatter was observed on the floor and ceiling.
My God.
Wow.
Sounds like a fairly brutal crime scene to me.
So they looked closer at the graffiti on the walls, and they were finally able to make out what it said, Dylan. The statements that were written on the wall: I already shot myself 6 times in the head and shot the devil and burned him alive.
Okay. No, okay. You can't shoot yourself 6 times in the head. I feel safe saying that as a blanket statement. that nobody can shoot themselves 6 times in the head, right? You pretty confident about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought at first they were going to say that he must have run away, and then they kept assuring the police that he's an elderly man, so he didn't run away.
Well, investigators were able to search through the victim's bank records as part of the investigation, and they found some purchases that were quite suspect during this time, including washcloths and gas cans that were discovered to be purchased by Rodriguez using Meisner's account. And she also purchased a chainsaw April 3rd. And then on April 20th, the state police were able to get a search warrant on a Google account associated with Rodriguez. And in checking the search history, they found searches on Meisner's name, how to shoot someone, how long it takes to burn a dead body, on if someone shot in the head dies instantly, and on cutting a body with a chainsaw. Not sus at all.
No, not sus at all.
State police later reviewed an iCloud account associated with Rodriguez and were provided photographs and videos stored on the account. Investigators wrote in the affidavit that they reviewed a video of Rodriguez obtaining the PIN number to Meisner's debit card, a photograph of a .357 revolver, photos of Meisner with gunshot wounds, and videos of Meisner deceased on the floor. Why would you fucking record that shit and put it in your iCloud? Is this like one of the dumbest people ever or what?
Well, I'm glad they're dumb because they should pay for what they've done to this poor man. But I mean, my God, if there's like a book, what to not do, this would all be on there.
Yeah, this is pretty stupid.
It's like, then I sent a letter to the police that outlined everything I did or intended to do.
Okay, well, I'm looking at a photo of Marissa Rodriguez,
She's
and
dumb.
she looks, I'm just going to say she looks a little special.
Well, that's a little mean. She looks like a shitbird.
Well, yeah, she looks like a very special kind of shitbird, Dylan. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, when I say special, I mean a very unique kind of person.
I don't know if I got that right, Melissa. I'm going to put...
It's Marissa.
Marissa?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, see, I already hate her.
See, I have a story on Asheville, Dylan, and this brings to mind a recent experience that we've had.
Okay.
Well, it involves being stalked by a homeless person.
Uh-oh.
Should we tell them our story?
Yeah.
Okay. So for about the last 6 weeks, there is a homeless individual who has knocked on our door multiple times and always asks for water. And I try to oblige, give him the bottled water. But then it's become like he's always on our property.
Yeah, in the middle of the night.
He came over at like 3 a.m. and was like knocking on the door and then came back like 30 minutes later.
Like it's damn Three's Company up in this bitch.
Yeah. So like enough's enough. He's always creeping around the house. So we have had to get law enforcement involved with this person. Come to find out, he has a very lengthy criminal history, burglary, stolen property, DUI, like multiple DUIs, drugs. I mean, the guy's served time in state prisons, 2 or 3 different state prisons. Not the kind of guy you want lurking around your house.
No, please don't lurk around my house. This is the type of person you would never want lurking around your house.
So we've been dealing with that in the last few weeks, and it's wigged me out a little bit. I don't feel very safe in my home with this person creeping around. I mean, it's not okay. But, Dylan, there is an article here at WLOS.com, which is the Asheville news station, about the criminal charge of stalking may bring to mind a pattern of obsessive behavior that puts a victim in fear for their safety. Yeah, no shit. So one case that caught the attention of News 13's investigative team involved a homeless man accused of repeatedly stalking women in the Montford area historical district of Asheville last fall. So after the outcome in court left one victim shocked, News 13 took a deeper dive into what exactly constitutes as criminal stalking and why experts say it's hard to prove. Now, the case under scrutiny by some involves a man named Bruce Haddock, who is homeless, and he was charged with stalking a woman July 22nd, 2022 on Broadway Street, which is in downtown Asheville. Now, Buncombe County court records showed his address was listed as the A Hope Day Center, which is a homeless shelter. But multiple women living in the Montfort area have been claiming that Haddock was stalking them. Now, one of the women said that he stalked her teenage daughter. That it said he was following a 30-year-old hairstylist named Heather Halstead, who works on Broadway Street, and it was her case that was officially charged, charging him with these warrants. She was like, until about 5 years ago, I felt safe walking by myself anywhere, but it's definitely different now. She alleged that Haddock on 2 separate occasions stalked her and followed her outside her salon. She said he was standing outside, basically waiting on her. At one point, she was working with a client and that he stood right outside the window staring at her and the client getting their hair done for over 45 minutes. The client was scared. I was scared. She's like, we both ended up crying. They both decided to call the police. She said Haddock was acting erratically, kind of weaving back and forth. On one occasion, she had a coworker escort her to her car because she felt unsafe because Haddock was following them down the sidewalk in the direction of the vehicle. Halstead said her friend's car was parked about 1,000 feet from a cocktail lounge on the same block, and that they both were walking and trying to get away from him, and that they were shaking, and that like he was just following them the whole time.
Yeah, that's not weird at all to stand outside of a business and stare at someone for 45 minutes.
She said they ran crossing 4 lanes of traffic to get away from this person. And she's like, I didn't have anything to protect myself if something happened with this person. So he had a $25,000 bond because he was reported to be stalking multiple women.
Okay, well, maybe the system should step in and do something about this before these obsessive behaviors manifest themselves in violent action. Wow.
So she takes this man to court because she's like, look, he's got a history of this. There are multiple women in the area who are being freaked out, whatever. And the judge said, this isn't stalking and there's not much we can do about it. This doesn't qualify as criminal stalking.
So just keep turning up where someone's at. You're following them around. You're following them away from into their place of business. This isn't stalking. How's that?
So get this. After the judge said that this was not stalking, the judge called this lady Halstead to the bench and told her basically it's not guilty. And she was like, ladies, this is Asheville. You should be vigilant. And so basically telling them, like, it's on you to take care of yourselves, but I'm not going to charge this man with stalking. So this Halstead is saying that she felt stunned and that she felt like the judge was acting like they were the problem and not this homeless man who's following them around.
See, that's a problem right there. And you hear this from people that do live in cities when you hear about the senseless crime and your car's getting broke into, things like that, maybe a violent person on the sidewalk. They laugh it off. Like, I guess you've never been in the city. So they've just come to accept that this is the way it has to be.
Well, here's an advocate for the homeless with the Safe Light Family Advocacy Center who says that, okay, here's the quote, Dylan. A lot of what we see was street homelessness and folks who would be followed. They talk or engage with people on the street, but they're not acts of violence that are occurring, and that it's basically just perceived as stalking by victims. But it's just that these homeless people don't have anywhere to go. So
he has to stand there and menacingly look at you.
Yeah.
They have to follow you. You have to let them follow you around to and from work, right?
I mean, what the fuck?
I'm sorry. I know this is the problem right here. This is the problem. They'll always make excuses for the people who are in these situations, but I'm sorry. It seems to me like there's a lot of outreach.
Well, it seems like victims are not valued. And if you really are feeling threatened by someone, I mean, I don't feel safe with this dude coming by my house all the fucking time. Or that I pull up after I've been at the gym working out and it's 10 p.m. and I pull in and the guy's standing in my fucking yard staring at my house. Like, that doesn't make me feel good. That doesn't make me want to get out of the car and go and walk the 3 feet to my door.
No, and what happens if you do call the police and they're like, well, you just got to deal with that.
Yeah, pretty much.
He does, I'm sorry. If you want to change your situation, you're in a homeless situation for whatever reason, I feel like you can do it. I feel like there's a lot of outreach. There's a lot, even here in our small town, they have programs that work you all the way up into your own place, and you having a job, teaching you some trades, responsibility, all that. And I feel like the people that continue year after year to remain in these situations, homeless, I'm not going to call them unhoused. Okay, that's part of the dumb shit we do in this country. We keep trying to find these words that make people not feel bad about their situation. Euphemisms. I'm not going to call them unhoused. They're homeless. It's no different than if I lost my home and I didn't have a home either. I'd be homeless. Okay, and if someone said that and I was homeless, why would I get fucking mad if they said that? Because I am. But you don't have to stay that way. And if you continue to stay that way year after year with all the help available and all the community programs and all this shit to help you.
Well, especially when you're like a liberal bleeding heart zone like Asheville.
You could get off the street if you wanted to.
Because there are so many resources in this area.
Sure, there's people out there that think I'm being a dick saying this like this. But just from what I've seen, talking to people in harm reduction and stuff, we have a lot of friends who work with the homeless, who work in homeless shelters, who have spearheaded harm reduction across Western North Carolina. I mean, we've been like involved with these folks. We've donated money to these causes. Yeah. We've tried to be active in our community to like help solve some of these issues. Yes. And what we've seen over the course of time is some of these people don't want help. And I think they're a different category.
And it's not, I mean, you always get the story of, well, what about the single mom with her 3 kids?
That's not what we're seeing.
That's not what we're seeing. I mean, that is not what we're seeing.
We're seeing younger people, predominantly younger people, able-bodied, typically male, sometimes female, and they're, I don't know how to describe them short of a crust punk, a hobo lifestyle. They're living their best life. And you shouldn't have to rearrange your whole life around their choices, because I separate these people from the people that need help. Well, there was a study that came out
recently about some of the homeless issues in Asheville and the crimes associated with the homeless. Very violent crime. Like in the course of 3 months, there were like 192 calls associated with assaults.
So where's that advocate
and rapes
going to be when this man who was in your story there in Asheville is following these women around, if he does decide to become a violent, and there they are going to their car, it's dark, it's early morning, whatever, nobody around. Where's that advocate going to be then? They're not going to be anywhere to help you. And I'm not saying that man's inherently violent. What he's doing, his behavior's being described, at the very least could be called antisocial. That's just not how you do in public.
Here's my thing as well. So let's just say these women who are feeling threatened by this person arm themselves. They get a weapon for their personal safety, and then he's doing this crazy shit to them, and they feel unsafe, and they shoot him. Then it's going to be like, oh, these Karens
killed this poor
homeless guy. And oh, we should all feel terrible, and this is horrible, and like, how dare they do this to him? While he's been doing this for months, because that's the attitude that people have. Anytime you retaliate against someone who's threatening you, in LA, in New York, I mean, we've seen these stories. Then it's like, oh, well, you're a terrible person. This is this unhoused individual. Where were they supposed to go?
Why they had to stand there?
So it's like there's no, I don't know. There's no personal responsibility, any part of this scenario ever. And if you do feel threatened and you do arm yourself and you take action into your own hands, then you're going to be painted as like a bad guy or a bad woman or a bad person who just attacked this innocent person who wasn't doing anything but just being unhoused.
This innocent unhoused
even though they've been harassing you, stalking you for months.
Or robbed the business up the road.
Because I can tell you right now, if that dude came back on my porch and tried to break in my house and I shot him, then the narrative would just be like, oh, how dare you shoot this person? He was just trying to get a cup of water from your house or some bullshit, you know?
Yeah, it was 4 a.m. Never mind that he was breaking in your patio door or something like that. What else was he
Dude,
supposed
this
to
fucker
do?
had his face plastered up against my kitchen window at 4 a.m. staring in the damn house.
What was he supposed to do, Heather?
I don't know.
Stay the
but
fuck
like,
out of my
I'm
yard.
not okay with that.
Okay, stay away from me.
And I feel bad for these people who are just trying to get to a job and get home safely that have to deal with like running across 4 lanes of traffic to get away from someone who's intimidating them.
Here's the thing.
And then, of course, our justice system's just going to be like, oh, catch and release, because that's what they do. Anyhow.
There are people that need help. I'll be the first one to help them. If I got $10, we'll both have 5. I'll be the first person to help them. But the people to continue to stay in this position, they may have severe mental, issues or something preventing them. That's true in some cases. Oftentimes, they're simply choosing that lifestyle. This is my opinion. Doesn't make me right. Doesn't make you wrong.
Well,
this is what I've seen.
We've had our experiences.
This is what I've seen.
And just based on the experiences that we've had in trying to serve our community, in trying to, donate money, time, having friends who've worked in this setting for multiple years. I mean, this is just our experience.
It's the same people.
And so, our experience is probably different from other people's experiences, Dylan, but it doesn't negate the fact that we've seen this with our own eyes. So it's our experience. And I think we have a right to speak on it.
You're damn right we do. All right. But
dude, now this is something we got to talk about, Dylan.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, so new details are being released about the relationship between the capital murder suspect and that jailer who allegedly helped him escape. And I'm talking about 38-year-old Casey Wyatt.
Oh, my God.
And the corrections officer, 58-year-old Vicky White. Now, if you remember, they made national headlines after he escaped an Alabama jail with her help. He was awaiting trial for a 2015 murder of a woman named Connie Ridgway when Vicky helped him escape. Of course, it was a high-profile pursuit, ended in Evansville, Indiana. Casey was eventually recaptured, and Vicky took her own life.
Oh, my God. Vicky, what are you doing, girl?
Lauderdale County Sheriff Rick Singleton has told reporters with AL.com that Casey and Vicky shared nearly 1,000 phone calls while Wyatt was housed at the state's William Donaldson Correctional Facility.
So they never caught on to that. Doesn't sound like.
Yeah, so he was already serving a 75-year sentence for a violent crime spree that spanned both Alabama and Tennessee. That single-night crime spree involved a home invasion, 2 carjackings.
Two cars got jacked off.
Yes, I love to jack off a car. Kidnapping and shooting that left one woman injured and a dog dead.
And one podcast
so this is a pretty
tongue-tied.
This is a pretty violent individual, right? My question is, are they not monitoring these phone calls? Because of these 1,000 phone calls, some of them, for a fact, were phone sex calls.
Oh, okay.
And so not only was Vicky jerking off a car, but apparently she was trying to help Casey get off as well.
Damn, Vicky's helping him get off of everything.
So that's a lot of phone calls. And I love that the sheriff's like, and this is his quote, I think what it tells us is they were definitely in a relationship. Well, no shit.
What?
Sheriff Sherlock.
This
shit.
This sheriff should be like the cop that runs the whole country.
They're sifting through 949 recorded conversations that took place between August of 2021 and February of 2022. Now, if these phone conversations are recorded, I think it's a damn shame that you're waiting until after this has happened to go back and monitor those fucking phone calls.
Yeah. What's the point?
Like, what kind of system do we have here?
It's obvious they were planning something.
You think?
In many of the phone calls, they announced on the phone call that they were planning an escape, and this is about to be some phone sex. But in hindsight, we do see that maybe, just maybe, we should truly be monitoring the phone calls in and out of the jail, not just recording them and stacking them up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just can you imagine the information
Some real geniuses here.
that's available?
Well, I love, what it shows us is that they were in a relationship, Dylan.
Yeah.
You think? Not that they ran off together.
I
Like
suspect.
we didn't already suspect they were in a relationship. I mean, what the fuck?
I
Anywho.
suspect this was not spontaneous actions on the part of Mr. and Mrs. White. I believe they may have been planning something. And that's my position, sir. The
Well,
26,000 phone calls. That's going to be my evidence.
Thank you, Buford T. Justice. Like, really great observations you've got going on there. Now, according to CNN, an American woman and an unidentified man were found dead Tuesday in a hotel room in Mexico. They were discovered in the Mexican resort village of El Pescadero in Baja California's Sur State. An autopsy determined that the death was poisoning by a substance to be determined without traces of violence in the body, according to the Attorney General's office.
Oh, wow.
So authorities were called Tuesday night to the hotel where they found the bodies of the 22-year-old woman who was from Newport Beach, California, and a man whose nationality has not yet been determined, and they had been dead for approximately 10 to 11 hours.
Dead from an unidentified substance.
From a poisoning.
Yeah.
I know, so it makes me wonder if they were poisoned intentionally or if they got
accidentally.
some bad drugs,
Yeah.
like tainted drugs or something.
Tainted drugs.
Well, no, but that's just really scary
It is scary.
because you don't think about going to a resort for a vacation, have a good time, and that something like this is going to happen to you.
Or some other woman, because, poisoning typically is the woman's weapon. I wonder if they were poisoned intentionally by someone.
Oh, you think so?
The third part of the triangle.
Now, Dylan, this is coming to us via people.com, but it happened in our own backyard.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, lay it on
Yeah,
me.
because I love when classy folks are making the news. A 2-year-old has tested positive for fentanyl after being found during a large drug bust in our area, Dylan.
My God.
It's such a crazy story, it's made people.com.
A 2-year-old.
The shocking results come days after the toddler was rescued during a drug bust organized by 115 law enforcement officers and 17 agencies on the eastern band of Cherokee Indians. I guess they mean the reservation.
Yeah, I think they mean the
Because I
reservation.
think they worded that kind of strangely, in North Carolina on June the 2nd. So this was referred to as Operation Casino Royale. The drugs included fentanyl and cocaine that were uncovered in the bust with the use of a search warrant. So following the child's rescue, they were sent to the hospital for evaluation and monitoring. As a result of the drug bust, 98 arrests were made. One person was also found dead of an overdose at the time. The bust took place following a 4-day-long surveillance operation conducted by the agencies, which included the Cherokee Indian Police Department, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the Division of Drug Enforcement. Of the seizures that were made, there was about $93,554 worth of crystal meth, $81,000 worth of fentanyl, $21,000 worth of marijuana, and about $1,000 worth of cocaine.
My God. And this kid's right in the middle of it.
So a total of 193 citations were handed out alongside the arrests for violations, which also included things like reckless driving, driving while license revoked, driving without a license, speeding, and having no insurance.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No insurance. It's so scary.
So, per CBS, the agency stated their request in the news release for regular drug busts to be performed following the latest operation, writing, quote, "This operation may be conducted semi-annually, specifically around the EBCI's per capita paycheck distribution week."
Oh, what are they saying?
That when they get their casino money, Dylan,
They buy
they're
drugs?
buying drugs. No.
I don't believe that. You're saying people are just casually wasting this money that's given to them.
No.
That's weird.
No. Well, you can't say that out loud. People will be all up on you.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm sure some of the people put it to good use. I'm sure, surely. But some don't, and we know this.
Well, not the 198 that were given citations.
Not the 198 that were part of this drug ring. Certainly not.
No, we all know. I mean, with the casino being there, we're not very far from Atlanta. the reservation is rampant with drugs. I mean, it's been an issue there for some years.
It's a very easy route out. It's a quiet, kind of desolate route out of Atlanta, off the main highway there, up into the mountains through Rabun County and Franklin.
Yup.
It's a very easy drive. It's really
that's
quiet.
kind of been a known drug corridor for years and years. So.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure there's no doubt in my mind, large quantities come up and get dispersed out into other areas.
Well, and you've got all these folks coming to the casino and they want to buy drugs and party.
Drugs and gambling and smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol do not go together. None of those do. So.
It just sounds like a remedy for a really eventful and possibly dangerous evening.
Yeah.
Like the Hangover times 10.
Yeah, because
But what's really sad is this poor 2-year-old. And I hope that Child Services finds this child a safe place to be. But knowing the way they operate around here, I'm sure that kid was just taken to the hospital and then dropped back off at the drug house because that's how they operate.
They probably didn't even take him back. They just he's outside the hospital trying to get a ride. He's
yeah.
two.
Hey, somebody come pick this toddler up.
Yeah. Somebody come pick the toddler up.
Yeah, because nowadays they don't even remove children from these drug houses anymore. Because if they did that, they don't have anywhere to put them because our system's already flooded with children who need foster parents.
What blows my mind about this, one of the things is the types of drugs they had and the largest quantity being of the fentanyl. I just don't get it. I don't get the people who use it. I don't understand the people who make it and put it into their system because it's so dangerous. And so, yeah, it's always just really been weird to me. I mean, I think it's common knowledge that drug dealers and producers will cut their drugs with anything if it makes them more money. They don't care about the health consequences. But this fentanyl is just a whole nother level. And I just don't know. It has to be being done intentionally for fentanyl to take over everything and all the, huge drug organizations. That's their number one product now. But yeah, I still just don't understand why you want to kill your own clientele at this rate. So I don't know who the motivation or what the motivation for this is, but fentanyl is just a really scary thing to me because you can literally just look at it and die. Like if it's just a couple of granules get in the air and get on your skin, you can die. And people intentionally do that drug. It just blows my mind.
Can't fix stupid, Dylan.
Oh, my God. All right.
But addiction is a disease.
Being a dick's a disease, too. Right?
Well,
so stop being a dick.
Not having any common sense is also a disease, I feel. And it's at epidemic levels, right?
It's true.
Anywho, that has been our ranty recap of some true crime this week. Got anything else to add, Dylan?
I believe I'm going to try harder in my daily life. So to make my wife happier, I guess. Yeah. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
No.
This was
Look, we're so opposite in some ways, and you really stress me out.
Mm-hmm.
Your procrastination really stresses me out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm going to start doing things ahead of time.
Yeah, but I don't believe it.
That's hard.
You cannot.
But I'm going to.
You won't take care of even things that you have to take care of. You're like, well, yeah, I still haven't done that yet. It really bothers me.
I'm starting today.
And I don't like your retirement, okay? And I think that you need this is why the mill was good for you, because you need structure.
This is bullshit.
You need to have accountability for your actions. You need to have a set schedule where you must show up on time. You need
I don't want
strict
any of
rules
that.
and regiment because you're not responsible or motivated or focused enough to work independently.
I can be self-directed.
The fuck you can?
I can be.
Self-directed to the bed to take your afternoon nap.
Well,
you just woke up at noon and now it's 3, so you're sitting over there ready to go take your afternoon nap.
That's a lie.
Do y'all even know what this man has been like this past week?
I haven't been thinking about a nap just now. That's ridiculous because I just got up. Well, I didn't just get up, but
You-
we've been up for a little while.
You sort of did just get up.
Nah, I mean,
Because then after you got up, you went to bed. You were like in there hanging out.
well,
in
there
the
was nothing
bed.
I could do. Nothing.
There's plenty that you could be doing.
Nobody.
Dylan. See?
Look. You put a bow on this bitch. Wrap this shit up. Nobody
If
wants
anybody
to hear
has
this.
any like self-help books or motivational podcasts or tips on getting your husband to get his shit together because he's not really retired even though he thinks he is, please send that our way at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com because I don't know how much longer I can deal with this man. A week. I have had my fill. It's only been a week.
I've identified as a retiree, and
This
I
man
just can't tell me that.
This man needs full-time employment.
That's who I feel like I am.
You got to
on the
get this
inside.
man a job, a job.
I just need a Ford Ranger and some fishing poles.
Oh my! What, you turn it into my papaw?
Yes, your papa knew what was up.
Yeah, but you know what? He had some money, and you don't got no money, so you need to get a job, sir.
I got some money.
All right, we'll see you guys in a few days,
We'll see you this week. We can't wait. We'll
unless
be back.
something bad happens in between now and then.
Plenty of time on our hands. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, he's got plenty. Well, if I can wake him up from his nap, we will record an episode for you this weekend. Bye.
Bye.